All right, what you're seeing here is the Casio. It's an AMW-320D. Now, this is not typical. This is not what you will typically see if you go searching for this watch. It's called an Arnie. This is it on a 7 and 5/8 inch wrist. Pretty big case. Keep in mind, the perspective on this lens always makes the watch look larger on my wrist on the screen. When I look at it, I could see far more arm on either side of it, but we'll break out the calipers. They call it the Arnie because Schwarzenegger wore a watch similar to this. It's basically the same model, but it had a gold face. And the originals had, instead of 2 push buttons on the side here, it had one here and one on the other side. Also, this is a kind of a goofy watch because I don't see too many of these, and I've only seen them with the black dial with the numerals, the 3, 9, and 12. Typically, they have triangle and round applied indices, and this does not. And this one's made in Korea. You see it has a digital display on the bottom. We'll work through all that. Talk about some of these details here. Just wanted to show it on the wrist first. Take it off. I'll give you guys some close-ups, and we're going to cycle through everything. I don't typically see people do that, but we're going to do it. So one of the things you're going to notice on this is the bezel. It's a combination bezel. It's a dive bezel and a compass bezel. You'll see an N at the triangle there up at 12. You see west over here by the 9, south down here at 30. And it has the degrees of a compass on there as well. If you guys don't know, in the northern hemisphere, you would point your hour hand at the sun, and then halfway between the hour hand and the minute hand is going to point to south. And then you just adjust this to where you want to put it. It really is only helpful if you have a map. You don't need the bezel to help you find north and south. This is a bi-directional. It does click. Doesn't make any sound, but it locks. It feels like a 60 click. It does line up, which is nice. Can't say that for Seikos. It doesn't move on you. I've been wearing it for a little while now. It's really an interesting, just looking at the dial with those indices. The lume is pretty good. I have this almost set perfect to match the ticking on the digital display. I'm off by a second or so. I forget. I'm not watching that right now. I'm looking at the picture on screen. It's pretty clean. I haven't actually cleaned it yet. I think the 1374 is the battery. It says made in Korea, which is another oddball thing, which I think is neat. The strap real quick. This will fit an 8-inch wrist at least, but I think this is kind of cool. This folds over. This is great because what it does, it creates an air space between this and your wrist for airflow, which that's a pretty smart and cool idea. It's quick release. Obviously this is not the original band for it. It's not in bad shape. It's in really good shape and it's working. It said fresh battery and functions like new when I bought it. I got it pretty cheap. It was like $70. I made the guy an offer. With shipping it was like $72, $73, which I thought was worth it for what this thing is. Let me get my cloth and wipe this off. I'm going to call this a unique Arnie because of this. Now look, this might be something that people shy away from. It just seems rare to me. I'm going to say it's a rare Arnie because it's hard to find. I can't find any information on this thing online. And maybe I'm not looking in the typical spots where those of you who know where to look, know where to find the information, please school me on that. 100-meter water resistance. You got the 24-hour time underneath the indices, and these are all applied, or painted on rather. They're not separate applied indices. They're all painted, but they have a nice gold frame. It's odd. I mean, the whole thing is weird. I like it. It's gold on the bezel insert, gold frame around the indices, gold hands and second hand. Good looking hour and minute arms on this. So buttons are interesting. If I hit this, it'll tell me, it'll change. Now I can adjust the time here, but I hit this one again. It's going to give me the minute. Then it's going to go to the second. Now this will tell me if I want 24-hour time or standard. And now we're back to this one here. This is it's February 8th. Again, if I wanted to set that, I'd hold this until something starts blinking. There we go. So I could change the month, the day, and the day of the week. It's Thursday. This is an alarm. It's set. Oh, no, look at the P wasn't there earlier. So it's set for 6 p.m. I'll tell you what, though. I changed that this morning. Let's go ahead and change that now. Because the alarm did not go off this morning. Okay, we're in AM now. I'm going to set it again and see. So it might be that the alarm doesn't work, which I wouldn't be shocked by that. So here's your time now. I guess that's sound, and let's see if we can get this to come on again. Whoops. Bear with me. So I'm hitting this button each time, and we're going to, there we go. Now I'm leaving that on. So looks like the bell is on, okay, for sound. So I'll let you guys know in the morning or tomorrow or another time if it works. It did not go off this morning. So I suspect that the sound is broken on it. I don't know. We'll hit this again, and now we're in a DL. I don't know what DL stands for. Forgive me for a lot of you guys listening or looking at this now. You're like, duh, it's this. But that's a second time, and I have this one set to 24-hour time, but of course it's only 10:51 in the morning, so when it gets to 1 o'clock, it'll say 1300. We have a stopwatch here, and we start it here with the lower button. We stop it, hold it, and it starts again. So stop, I'm going to hold it, boom. So that all works with the bottom button, and then we cycle through again. Now we're on our regular time. Break out the calipers for you, right here, and we'll turn these on. And we'll zero that. It's a 45 millimeter case. 45.4. It's pretty large by most people's standards. It is about a 50 millimeter lug to lug. It's only 11.2 millimeters thick. That's kind of nice. And our lug width is 22. We'd call that, it says 22.5, but you know, we're going to call that 22.2, 22 millimeter lug. So those are your basic dimensions that everybody cares about. I want to do something else here. I want to open the back on this. I want you to eyeball it, okay? And maybe something will just fall out. Maybe it'll fall apart. Maybe somebody rigged it. I don't know. I'm just curious because this is made in Korea. I'm kind of wondering if there's something different about it. It could be better or worse. I don't know, but I thought for those of you guys who are watch guys, you might find it curious. I also want to bring this to the watch shop and have them look at the seals on it. That's what we're going to do right now, actually. But there's typically a seal here, and then at the crown, it's just a push-pull crown. And I want to replace those to give it its waterproof qualities again. Hang on a second. I got a little match here that'll probably work for me. All right, so this is the inside of it. I watched a review on this, and a guy was saying how he doesn't like this style He says get the old ones with the buttons on the side, but they're harder to find and they're more expensive. Fortunately, the plastic on this insert is still functioning. Sometimes this will break apart here and then one of the buttons won't work anymore. You can see how the contacts are in there. It looks nice and clean. The rubber gasket is in place. It does look dry to me, and there's some funk on the outside of it. So, yeah, I could clean that off with a Q-tip if I'm careful. And then I got to get the grease for this and start doing my own O-rings, but I'll bring it over to those guys. Let's zoom in on this for you a little. So if you guys see anything that's odd or wrong or whatever with this, let me know. But it looks pretty good to me in there. So I'll go ahead and put that back on. It's the inside of this case here. Yeah. Lost my match. Oh, it's right here. Anyhow, let me pause this. All right, so that's it. Really, that's I got the back on, nice and snug again, no sweat. Again, push, pull, crank. It does hack, so watch this. Bingo. Second-hand stops, but of course the seconds continue to go on the digital. But that's kind of cool that you can still do that. So obviously it doesn't have winding. It's a quartz watch. So, I never really was into quartz. Of course, I wore quartz when I was young. Now that I got back into watches, I was kind of preferring the automatics. But there's so many iconic quartz watches out there. And I have this growing appreciation for some of these quartzes that were popular in the 80s, into the 90s and all that. And that's why I picked up. It was a really good deal, obviously, as well. But it's neat that it can hack. So it's waterproof to 100 meters. Again, I will have the gaskets replaced and or greased. It's got a hacking. It's a push-pull crown. It's got a bidirectional bezel that is both a compass bezel and a dive bezel. Again, you really wouldn't dive with this, I don't think. But once the seals are replaced, it should be fine. And, again, digital display. It's got a stopwatch. It's got another time zone. You could basically treat it like a GMT in a way. You don't need a GMT hand with this. You just set another time. You could have 3 times on this. You could have today's time here where you are analog, and in digital, you could have 2 other time zones being timed. It has an alarm, but as I mentioned this morning, it did not go off. So I'll ask the watch place what they think about that. And the stopwatch. So it's pretty cool. And we know the size, basically a 45 millimeter case, pretty large. And I was hoping you guys would get a kick out of this. And again, it's kind of unique. It's, again, made in Korea, not Malaysia, not China, not Japan. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's the only version I've seen. I saw a guy do a video on it on YouTube, and he had the exact same one. The indices matched. It had the numerals on the dial, the 3, 9, 12. And his was made in Korea as well. So it might be that these ones coming out of Korea, that's just how they were. They may be, some people might think of them as junk. I don't know. Is this a desirable version? Is this a collectible version? Is it worth more because of it? It does seem rarer. I would expect that people want what Schwarzenegger wore in the films with the gold dial. I prefer darker dials. I just want a contrast. Okay, I want a high contrast between the hands and the dial so I can read it legibly at a quick glance. That's what I want. White dials, lighter dials don't work for me unless the hands are dark enough to where I get that contrast. So that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. The Casio. What is it? It's the AMW-320D. I'm just holding it here like this, so look, I'm off on the time. It's 11 o'clock. It's because I was messing with it. Trying to look through the screen. Anyhow, it doesn't matter that much. What you could do is you could stop the second hand, set this at the appropriate time, watch the digital. When it gets to that, just push this in. You play with that a couple times. Eventually, you can get it to where the seconds match the second hand on the analog display. It's tedious, but you could do it. All right, that's it. You guys have a great day. Be good to one another. I will catch you all in the next one.